Welcome back to Morning Joy, where truth matters. I'm your host, Keith Downey, and very excited to introduce our next guest. She's the Community Outreach Coordinator at sacredheartradio.org in the Washington State. Good morning, Rebecca Anderson. How are you?
I'm good. Good morning.
Good morning. And I have to say, it's got to be interesting to be almost like a missionary in Washington. What's that like?
No, not almost. We are. I am. I can literally walk down my street. I've got flags flying literally down my street. So yeah.
Wow.
You don't have to go to a different country. You can literally just be in your community right now. So no, there's no almost. God ordained me a missionary. So.
Well, it sounds like you're up for the task, and that's great work that you're doing over there on Sacred Heart Radio. Mm-hmm. One thing that I noticed, because I definitely did not LinkedIn stalk you the other day, I saw that I saw that you were the editor on the launch team of Gamespot. Which, if you don't know what Gamespot, listeners out there, it's one of the early online-only computer console gaming magazines. I was all about Gamespot, by the way. I used to read it. Yeah, back in the 90s for sure.
Yeah.
So maybe tell us the journey about going from like an editor on GameSpot to what you're doing today with Sacred Heart Radio.
Wow. I don't know. GameSpot was really weird. It was, before the T3s. I mean, the big, anyway. Wow. Mm-hmm. You stalked me. Wow. And my hair's different too. Anyway, I don't know. God, little by little. That was before I had kids, and I was glad I was married because gamers are interesting. And I lived in San Francisco, and before I had kids, and so I don't know. I wanted to write, and I worked in advertising before that, and an editor. So I wanted to write, and so I was writing game reviews. And I'm not really a gamer, but I got to play some games and some really bad games. And my husband thought I was crazy for complaining. It was, you get paid to play games. I'm like, really bad games, but because I'm a girl and I didn't get the good games because I'm a girl, and they got the better games, the guys, which is totally fine. I didn't eat, sleep, and breathe games, and now I've got boys in their 20s and they like to play games, so I speak the language, which I think is really good. I think you should know what your kids are playing. So anyway, I wanted to write, and so I went from an advertising agency to GameSpot to writing computer game reviews. So anyway, that's it.
That's super cool. Yeah, and I was like, oh, I know GameSpot. I used to read online, and I myself was a gamer. I don't really game that much anymore, so I thought that was like, it's such a unique thing. So you wanted to write, and that's kind of what led you more towards Catholic radio.
No, Catholic radio really was the Hail Mary. Literally, I was living in San Francisco, or I was living in Seattle, and we just had our second child. I was a talk show junkie because I was a stay-at-home mom, and I like to listen. And on we're 1050 a.m. and 1000 was talk radio, and they changed their format. And one day in the afternoon, I turned over about 1:00, and I heard this Hail Mary, literally, and I'm like, that is so Catholic. And our Father's not necessarily Catholic. If you get to the end, for thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, and you go, oh, Protestant, right? But this was so Catholic, and so it just grabbed me, and I was like, so literally, the Blessed Mother brought us to the Sacred Heart of her Son, working for Sacred Heart Radio. But I started as a listener, and then I was a donor, and then I was a volunteer. In about 7 years, Ron asked me for my Social Security number, and I said, why? And he said, I want to pay you for this, parish presentation stuff. And I said, okay, so that's how it happened. So here I am.
Wow, that's so cool. What an interesting story. And it all started with a Hail Mary.
Literally a Hail Mary.
Literally,
which I didn't know how to pray too, and I didn't know how to pray the Rosary. I was raised Catholic, went to Catholic grade school, never prayed a Rosary, never saw a Rosary. In the 70s, and then I had to learn how to pray the Rosary, and then Catholic radio kind of helped change my marriage. My husband's a convert, and I'd say things. He goes, "You're listening to Catholic radio." I said, "Yes, I am," and it really radically changed my life. So
that's great. I mean, I'm a geriatric millennial, and I thought I had bad catechism. So it's nice to hear that we can kind of commiserate together of our lack of catechesis. So it's kind of the theme for this whole week has been Divine Mercy. How has Divine Mercy changed your life?
Well, interesting enough, in that same house where I listened to Catholic radio, 4 houses down from my house was a Divine Mercy cenacle, which I had no idea what Divine Mercy was. And it was about the time we were pregnant with our second child, and some things showed up on the ultrasound, some medical stuff, bilateral cleft lip and palate, and I was just devastated. We'd gone to children's and had prenatal and everything, and there was a little tiny little ad in the bulletin at the parish that we were at, and it said prayer group on Friday evenings. And I just, something about your faith. And I was just at this point where like, yes, I need, I wasn't very strong Catholic, but I needed that. And so I started going to the cenacle, Divine Mercy Cenacle. I had no idea what it was. Literally 4 houses down from my house. And these beautiful women, I was probably the youngest by 20 years. They kind of took me in, and here I had this diagnosis, and they would pray. And I learned the Divine Mercy Chaplet. One of the women, her cousin funded her Divine Mercy habit. And so she had this whole closet full of Divine Mercy material. First day I show up, she gives me the image, she gives me the diary, and we just, we pray the chaplet every Friday. So that was sort of how through the pregnancy I would be, shored up in prayer and got to learn about Divine Mercy. And so I had no idea really what it was, but God put literally a cenacle 4 houses down from my house. So
wow. And walking distance, you can't get better than that. That's awesome.
No, you really can't.
No, so that's great. Now, obviously, we're coming close to the end of the novena of Divine Mercy. Do you have any suggestions or ways that we can continue to kind of live out the message of Divine Mercy throughout the rest of the year?
Yeah, actually, so I actually spread the message of Divine Mercy on the envelopes that I send out to people. I actually put a heart with Jesus, I trust in you on the front and on the back of almost every envelope that I send out of my house. Even in the bills, I put it on the envelope, I put it on the bill. And sometimes Divine Mercy prayer cards in the bills that I return, that I pay my bills, because they send us stuff. They send us, the whatever it is, the newsletters of your PSE or whatever. And so I just put stuff back to them. In fact, I've done it so often for so long that my postal character one day said, he looked at my envelope and he goes, you're missing something on here. The Divine Mercy, right? So that's,
wow.
And I'm a Divine Mercy junkie, not a junkie, but it really, I've embraced it. I mean, I've got the diary. I've got tons of Divine Mercy cards. I just continue to spread that, that image, and I put it in bus stops sometimes when I'm walking around my neighborhood with the image of the Divine Mercy. I don't know. We need to spread his mercy, right? It's his mercy that we need to know. He is mercy. So that's how I spread it. So.
That's great. And I've seen too, as I've been driving, and we're going to be doing it this year too as well. But if you're driving through the neighborhood, some people have the image of the Divine Mercy on their door, posted on their door, and it's like, oh, they're Catholic. I know they're Catholic. They have to be Catholic if they're going to post that. So it's a way to kind of spread that message, and especially in today's world where, post-COVID, everybody's ordering from, Amazon, and so you have, people that are delivering packages to your door. It's a great way to evangelize without actually speaking to somebody. So it's really interesting. Do you have any other any thoughts on Divine Mercy? You said you're a Divine Mercy junkie. What would you like to share with our audience that could help them get through this week into Sunday?
I guess just keep going. And even if it's like 10 at night and you haven't prayed your chaplet, pray it, right? I mean, God, it's a do your best. I think over the years, and I've done the novena, sometimes I've missed it. I remember like thinking back one time during the novena, like I was sitting downstairs in our other house, like by the washing machine. I was exhausted. I had toddlers, and I'm like, okay, Lord, I got to pray this novena, and he'll fill in the gaps. Right. So you just keep going. I'm like a 95% person, right? I got to get it all done. And sometimes you're not, sometimes life happens, and, you're serving and you're taking care of people, and, it's not a check the box, and God knows he does know our intentions, and he knows our desires. And so just to be kind, because I think comparison is something I struggle with, comparing myself to someone else, and the plate he has is for you, is right in front of you, and just, be grateful for that plate, and just, be grateful for what he has set in front of you, instead of looking at someone else like, oh, they've got that, or, oh, they've got that. Or, I've had some interesting deepers in my faith, even at mass, about, like looking at someone else and going, oh, look how pious they look. I'm like, no, I'm supposed to say, look at him. He's here for you. Look at your plate versus, oh, they look better, So again, I just be kind to yourself. I mean, and not in a, go take a bath or whatever kind of, but just
Right.
don't be too hard on yourself if you miss a day, right? Get back up, right? He got back up 3 times on the way to Calvary. You just get back up, just start again, right? Just start again.
That's so helpful. I was just thinking about last night trying to do the novena, and my toddler is like yelling every time I speak or I'm saying the novena, and it was just like fighting through that. And then we have friends that like they, have all of their kids pray the rosary, and it's beautiful when we've been over, and I'm like, I can't compare. I can't do the comparison. I cannot do that. I gotta have more mercy on myself. It's divine mercy after all, and be very excited for our friends that their family is like that. And it's not always like that either. We're only seeing just a sliver of that. But my goodness,
yeah.
Rebecca, where can we find more of you at aside from sacredheartradio.org?
That's it, pretty much.
That's pretty much it. Okay, not
I
GameStop. Right?
mean, No. I was talking to someone. I'm just local. I'm just a local engaged Catholic in the Puget Sound area. I'm engaged in my parish. I do 40 Days for Life. I lead a 40 Days for Life vigil.
Wow.
I go down to my city council. I had a recall mayor, effort during the lockdowns, and I stand by that. I know the mayor of my town. But no, I'm just local. I don't have a book. I don't have a talk show. Don't have a vlog. Don't have a YouTube channel. I'm just an engaged Catholic who's, doing what I can in my mission.
Well, thank you for being an example. We need more Catholics like you out there. You don't need to have an Instagram. You don't need to have all these things. Just being present in your own parish, in your own locality. That's what we need. So thank you so much, Rebecca. But hey, we're listeners out there. If this is the end of it, this is the end of Morning Joy. But there's 2 things. I always say there's 2 things here. First, the journey continues with the Holy Mass right after this show. So if you're going to listen to the Holy Mass, please pray for us, please. But second, we're continuing the conversation over on our YouTube and Facebook pages. So we're doing our after show clubhouse, exclusive after show clubhouse, mind you, where we continue that conversation, answer your questions. We can talk with you and chat with you as well. So GRN Online for YouTube and Morning Joy Show on Facebook. You want to catch us there, but if not, we'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning, Friday, 6 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Eastern. Let's make it a joyful day.
This has been Morning Joy, where truth matters, hosted by Keith Downey. Take some joy with you today. Visit grnonline.com/joy to listen again, share a segment, or answer the question of the day. That's grnonline.com/joy.